You are the first person who understood the game.
Oh, is that so? Okay. Interesting. It was a bit of a challenge, honestly, streaming it to communicate to people what kind of game it was. But you know, I want to dive into it right away, but I guess we should get the formalities out of the way first.
My title is development director, but I'm also the managing director of the studio.
Well, thank you for making the time. First of all, thank you for working on the game. Thank you for your efforts there. I really appreciate that. But thank you for making the time to talk about it. I'm very excited to dive into the history of this game and how it was put together. And I think specifically the thing that fascinates me is there's not a lot of games with that kind of, I guess, unrestrained vibrance. It's kind of hard to describe. I think the word for it has a bad association, so I hate to use it, but camp. It's a very campy game. That's kind of one of the things that I love. So first of all, I guess just for you, Jarek, for your history, what led you to this game? Could you give us like an abbreviated rundown of your history in game development, your history outside of game development, your life story, basically?
My life story? Well, it's gonna be long. I started making games, like 33 years ago. Making some, point and click adventure games. And I wanted to be an animator. I was dreaming about a career at Disney, but I ended up making games. First, just drawing them, animating them, and also scripting them, and then I end up being in teams and doing games. So several years after, we are sitting here and we are talking about our latest game, Crime Boss, which it was very, very interesting how it happened, because originally it was like a project that the publisher kind of ordered or discussed with some guys, because 505, they originally owned publishing rights for Payday, and they wanted to make a game which would be similar to Payday but different than Payday. And they have this group of creation designers who were working on it, and they were the guys there. Some of them originally worked on that Payday franchise, so it was a good fit for them. And because they were working on Unreal Engine and they have not enough experience with Unreal, they just teamed up with this studio in Czech Republic, which the purpose of this team was to make code, animations, and graphics to support them. And this small studio happens to be the studio I'm leading now. So, and that was 6 years ago.
You were originally brought on for technical support. It was just purely to basically reinforce the creative vision of another group.
Yes, it was supposed to be just co-development, to help this game to happen. It was basically several other teams involved in this, and we were just supposed to help them to do it. And that was 2019, and we were working on a prototype for gameplay, for some shooting and action, and then there was Corona. There were some conflicts in the company. I was there, and basically the producer who was kind of managing all these groups of people resolved it in a way that he purchased all the shares of that Czech company to make be able to lead the project in a way as he wanted. And also on the way, the Croatian team somehow disappeared, so we end up holding the reins of everything. And because I made some games before, and a lot of people in the team already made a lot of games before, we just sat down and did it.
Really? When did that happen? Was that mid 2020? Deep in the heart of quarantine?
So the conflicts in that studio was 2020, during the year. It was complicated because because there were a lot of problems during Corona, And really the only way was to somehow unify it, because there were like 5 shareholders, and they some of them even were not able to speak English. So this guy from Sweden, he was only able to speak with them in English, and it's kind of difficult if you can't communicate even. And yeah, that was the resolution, and we end up renaming the company to In-Game Studios at 2020 in November, and they also pointed me out as a director or CEO of the studio. I wanted to make a design for the game, but I ended up managing again, which is something I'm probably destined to do. Well, I led some teams in the past, so I think I can do that. Yeah.
What was the state of the game when your team basically inherited it? Did it? From what you said, I assume it had the payday structure of like heists and missions and things like that. But
so yeah, we were focusing on the gameplay itself. So the first-person shooter element of the game, and we had in the beginning of 2020 we had a beautiful prototype with already the police animation being animated and kind of efficiently running against players who are already working in a multiplayer. So they were like a good foundation for this. And at the end of 2020, we had something what we were describing as vertical slice. So pretty much one bank, kind of playable with graphics and with animations, with everything. And it was quite, I would say, solid. It was good progress. And also at the same time, there was another small Croatian team who was working on what we called a meta game, more like the strategic layer above the game. So they were working on Unity, and they were like prototyping it in a way that we would like make sure that it works properly. So we had like a weekly build, we were testing it, giving feedback, and there was another version every week. So this was great. The only problem was that it was quite a little bit different game than what we end up having. Because in the 2021, when our team was supposed to deliver alpha version of the game, which is basically full production. So we had a lot of artists, a lot of content creators working on the game. The direction of the game started to shift a little bit. First of all, there was this decision that it will not be about heisting, but it will be about the conquest of the city, because it's different and it will be interesting. And we were excited. Like, I'm a big fan of Defender of the Crown and XCOM series, so it was like beautiful. We were easily persuaded with this vision, and the problem was that all the prototyping that we did with this like Unity prototype was kind of thrown out of the window, because suddenly we needed completely different things for the game, different mechanics, different principles. And also there was this idea of bringing this Hollywood talent. So like suddenly, yes, we will have the idea was we will have voices of some actors, which was like, yeah, why not? It's easy. But then we also, during that year 2021, we wanted to, originally the menus and everything was 2D. So there was like a bunch of guys, including me, who pushed for, let's make it 3D, like the map will be in 3D, and the menus, and you will see the weapons and stuff. And yeah, that was great. And then suddenly guys at Epic and Procedural, they came up with this MetaHuman demo 2021, and suddenly all the AAA technology was available to everyone. So there was this wonderful idea, let's make the characters also in the game as MetaHuman animated characters. So this started to be a little bit crazy, because we were at the stage where we were supposed to kind of have the game already finished, and suddenly we started like adding a bunch of characters which were never planned, and also another wonderful idea: let's make cutscenes.
So we hit this fucking bitch hard and fast. I'm talking full fucking auto.
Within the span of a year, your team went from basically being co-dev support on another project to inheriting the project entirely and then also ballooning the scope. And since you were in management and production, I imagine you were probably a little scared about how this game was growing at this point.
Yes, I was scared, but there were like there was a lot of ambition and a lot of backup from all the parties that were involved, like including the investors. So we were getting an additional funding, we were getting additional people. The development of the strategic layer, the campaign was given to some team in Belarus. The cutscenes were supposed to be made by some guys in Spain. So suddenly I was still only managing this Czech group, which was supposed to deliver the core game. But we were also responsible for putting all these pieces together. So we're kind of supposed to receive all the work from the other teams involved. And some of these teams, they had troubles to deliver it. So we ended up having some problems with some aspects, like the cutscenes. That was difficult. There was a plan to make 500 cutscenes, so it was me with one animator and one cutscene editor who was like part-time. We're suddenly supposed to deliver 500 cutscenes, which was like, wow. I worked on Mafia games before, and there were a lot of cutscenes there, but there was also a huge team working on it from like very beginning. And we had nothing. We had there was no script written for these cutscenes. There were
Wow.
It was just crazy.
That seems astronomical for where you were at. Was there a strategy to get to that number, or was this just somebody pulled 500 out of the air and thought it would be a good target to shoot for?
So we had some kind of spider web of connection between all these missions and how they are prepared. So there was there was some kind of prototype in Ren'Py, which is a visual novel engine, which was kind of showing all the interactions between, you can choose this and do that, but as in visual novels, they are not really, they don't care really how the lines are delivered.
Yeah, just text in a 2D image usually.
Yeah, so that was kind of misleading. It was completely different medium. And then basically these drops of interactive connections kind of were translated into cutscenes or some interactions, and then it created this astronomical number, which we have not ended with 500 cutscenes. There were less, but our strategy was to create some kind of system like in RPG games where you have camera and characters standing, doing some animations, talking, which would handle the less important dialogues, and then the important beats, they will be created as a proper cutscenes with normal cuts and everything. So that was the plan, and so we ended up having the Spanish team doing the high quality cutscenes, as we call them, and we, with our one animator and one cutscene editor and a bunch of programmers, we have been working on this Robo Cutscenes, which was the RPG solution. So I was surprised. The guys have kind of delivered something quite interesting, because as you have noticed, most of these cutscenes that are in the game are these Robo Cutscenes. The talking heads, and you just switch cameras, and they are a little bit animated, but it's like, I would say, better than some of these RPG games. and then the Spanish guys, they were trying to deliver the rest, which was, I don't know, 200 cutscenes. They ended up finishing like 15. And out of these 15, the one guy who was on our side managed to like finalize half of them. That was a little bit, that was quite tough, you know, to deliver so much work. And another problem was that we have completely no control of how it's created. There were like these lots of narration kind of planned, but there was no consistent script or anything. There was just some people that were not really connected to the team on our side were working on these, and then, you know, they just delivered it. And funny thing was that the reason why it's so as it is that they really let the actors improvise a lot. You can see that, right? You can hear it. And basically the actors, they were chosen to play the role of their most significant characters from the 90s. So it was not difficult for them to get into this character. And then they had some kind of notes what they should say or what they should do, and they just played themselves, and there were no restraints, no direction, so to speak. They just, you know, started talking. And I think Michael Madsen, he was like awesome for this, like, because he naturally doesn't really enjoy direction. So when he was able to perform without any restraint, I think he excelled. I think Michael Rooker was quite different. He really wanted to have the script in advance, like, I don't know, 2 weeks, so he could practice. And then he came prepared and he just nailed it very precisely. And then Chuck Norris, he's just old.
Yes.
So I think there was not even an acting involved in the way how he delivered it. But I think it was part of the experience, I would say. Like, people who have seen some of his movies in the 80s and 90s, they know that this is what he is. But obviously a lot of young players, they were like saying like, what is this guy, like, is he a robot or is it AI? I don't know, it's Chuck Norris, he acts like it.
Oh, he is, yeah.
And obviously we've absolutely failed to explain everyone what the game is. So it was kind of marketed or promoted as some crime game with story, with characters, with Hollywood actors. So everyone was expecting, you know, this kind of linear story, perfectly prepared script, and, you know, cutscenes and the story. And it was not.
Yeah.
The idea of the game was that you are going through these days and you randomly have some situations which are presented by cutscenes, and the cutscenes were, you know, campy, as you said, and then there were missions which may end up badly, so you may end up with even much more surprising cutscenes, and sometimes, you know, the sheriff saying like, you failed, you have to try again. And like, no one was really prepared for that, so everyone started to start complaining about the writing and everything. And obviously there were a lot of bugs when we released it. Like, the game was absolutely not finished or polished. So I'm not surprised that people kind of hated the game, or journalists especially, which they usually don't have much time. So game which kind of kills them and let them play again. This is not what journalists want. And yeah, that was it. But I'm really proud, because I just hate these linear games. It's just so, I don't know, boring or awful. You know, Call of Duty, you go from one checkpoint to another, you die 15 times, and you don't really care what's there. You just, casually going, and if you manage to kill those guys in that next room, you continue. If you don't, you repeat, and there is no drama. There is nothing. You have kind of no agency, so to speak. You are just going from cutscene to cutscene, and in between you are shooting some moving heads. And I wanted something where you'd really have some drama. So the fact that you can send guys, and it's up to you whether you send 1 or 2 or 4, and if things go wrong, you can still run away and escape, but it will cost you money. Or you can try to get the bags and get to the van, and maybe you will make it and you will be happy that you managed to do it, but maybe everyone will die and they will be dead. So this kind of, basically, it's the experience which the multiplayer gamers, they know quite well, because there are no checkpoints in battle royale games or wherever. So there is this like drama in these games, but single player players, they are just, they don't have this kind of experience, and we wanted to kind of create it for them. And like 2 years after, I would say, yes, it's kind of working now.
Yeah, it's still being updated, which is kind of, I mean, surprising from my perspective. Usually the market is not very receptive to something that is different and different in the way that's typically like more difficult. So what do you attribute the game's, I mean, success? Maybe, I don't know if you would call it a success at this point, but it's still existing and it's still updating. And that's something that, like the fact that this game can even operate as something similar to a games as service and continue getting updates and support. Are you seeing a response from the market? Are you seeing increased sales over time that enables that? Or is it just an ongoing labor of love?
Definitely ongoing labor of love. But we see influx of players over time. We are doing, these updates. We are doing sales events. We are doing some community events. So we are trying to attract people to try it, to play it. And I think the main thing is the fact that the game is good and it's interesting and it's worth, playing. So there is belief in the studio and also with our publisher and with our investors that is worth supporting, which is great. I'm happy that we can do it, obviously, because it was not in a very good shape 2 years ago, I have to admit.
The ingredients were all there, but yeah, it was in a inhospitable container, I suppose. That's one of the things I found very intoxicating, though, is that when you would get deep into the campaign or 3 or 4 stages into one of those ongoing storyline missions, you would start to see kind of new content. It was almost kind of a throwback to 90s style games where seeing cutscenes was your reward for kind of getting through part of the game. Was that architecture at launch? Was that just happenstance because of the way that the game came together? You basically had all these assets from all these groups and had to find a structure to organize them all? Because it seems like recent updates have sort of made it a little friendlier. The storylines are kind of now, you can play through them sort of sequentially, separate from the roguelike part of the game.
So the roguelite, which is in single player, the main mode, is still there with all the randomization. You just get some plot lines or some events as you go, and you never know which kind of opportunities you will get. So that was the idea. But what we have created are these standalone plot lines, which originally it was inspired by what we did with these DLCs, the Gold Cup and Cagnali Order. We thought maybe we'll create this kind of format for the other big heists. So we created these other standalone plot lines for Dragon Dogs, Hidden Vaults, and the other 2 big heists. So these are engineered in a way that it's still the campaign. It has all its elements, but you are kind of guided to play and enjoy this kind of this big heist that is there. Because one interesting thing, for example, is that the heist itself, it doesn't come to you directly. You need to do a lot of things before, some preparation missions, some decisions, and if you fail some of them, the heist will not happen. So a lot of people have played the campaign. They were doing the small hits and the turf war activities, but they never saw the big heists because they were simply just not. They just failed in the preparation, which is this is what happens. If you fail preparation, the heist doesn't happen. But it was kind of difficult for us to tell the players that there are big heists as well, and we were also foolish enough to, in multiplayer, we did the original game version of the game. The big heists were not available in multiplayer until you finished them in single player, which was like no one saw them. They just saw these small hits, and that was it. There was nothing else, because it just takes a little bit more effort to get them in the campaign. So lots of people just like thought, well, there is nothing in this game. So we did a lot of mistakes in the way how the game is like presented and organized, and it's also problematic that the game is trying to be too many things. There's the single player campaign, there's this multiplayer, which I would say are totally different modes. You can say it could be 2 games maybe. So, and it's hard to explain it to people.
Yeah, it's kind of an over delivery. I mean, these days it's kind of impossible to over deliver on a video game, especially for the consumer's perspective, because speaking as, a royal we, we're kind of used to being flush with content and features and modes and everything like that. But for a, for a scrappy studio who inherited this project and is trying to ship, I keep going back to how ambitious everything was, and I guess it's, shoot for the moon, land among the stars situation. It seems like every aspect of the game was originally scoped to be so huge, but then you still had an interesting pile of content to kind of construct a game out of in the end. Was that intentional? Was the intention to set the ambitions really high and then see where we land in a few years, or was there a realistic expectation that all of this would be realized into this mega game that would ship in a few years?
The idea was pretty humble, I would say. It was just, few heisting missions connected together in some kind of 2D interface where you would equip players and everything. And it was completely doable. We were on track till, mid 2021. Everything was going like according to the book, but then the crazy ambition kind of kicked in, which is not a bad thing, but sometimes it just completely damages the production plans and also the ability of the team to do it in some kind of good shape. And I'm guilty as well in this, although it was not my crazy idea to go for all these actors and crazy things, but I was kind of responsible for the development, for the planning, for the time, and we kind of just were blinded by the ambition, and it was just exciting to do it like this, and that's sometimes you are ambitious and you are also, I don't know, maybe lucky or something that you manage to deliver something which kind of reaches this ambition. We were ambitious, but we kind of failed to deliver it at the time of release in the way that it would be consumable by users, by players.
Yeah. In a friendly package. I think that's the thing. Going back to what you said about the performers that you got and how they didn't necessarily have very tight directing or even a well-formed script. I think that in a way, not that I would have put that particular pin on it, but there's there's a joy, might be the right word. There's certainly a lot of fun in the performance of these characters, and I think that reads through to the player, maybe provided they have the temperament to enjoy it. But it sounds like that, maybe intentional or no, but that improvisational sort of just roll with it kind of feeling seems to apply to most of the game from what I'm hearing, that everybody, if it's a good idea, we'll just go for it. We don't necessarily need to stick hardcore to design docs. And in that way, on an even more existential level, it feels like Crime Boss is very unique. Or maybe this is the sentiment that I read in it, that it was more willing to be improvisational and kind of follow the meandering path of collaboration versus sticking so rigidly to a design process or a design document, or just like following everything by the book.
I think that's completely true. I think the ambition was to create the experience, like what you play in the game should be like the experience of the heisters and the drama, the risks, these kind of things. And the idea was also that everything else, the cutscenes, the characters, will be just an illustration for you, like something so you can imagine the world where you are in. So there is no story in this game. It's just you have characters, they have some agendas, they are talking to you, and it's not really a story with the arc, with the beginning and some crisis, and which leads to some kind of resolution. It's just they want to conquer the city, and they either do or they don't. That's the story basically. And then there are some people have some problems on the way, and the idea was that we will have a lot of content and a lot of things, and you would be always surprised what you will see. Obviously, we failed to do this because sometimes you keep just seeing certain elements over and over, and certain elements you never see. But the idea was that every time you play it, you will see like a different kind of things in the game, so it will keep you engaged in trying to manage the strategic part, the management, where there is a lot of possibilities of failure. So if it would be a linear game with its roguelite element, it would be pretty boring, because you will play it once, second times maybe, and then you would say like, okay, like I'm not going to repeat it. But because everything is kind of procedural, random, so to speak, it's like you just play again, because you don't know what will happen. You've seen these cutscenes already, okay, you skip it, but then there is another one you have not seen, and then it will surprise you with something which you have never expected to be in this game. So that was the kind of idea, and I think we managed to get it there. The problem was that at the time of release, the core gameplay was kind of broken. There were a lot of bugs. There was not so much variation in those small hits, so you keep playing the same warehouse again and again. So it kind of broke the whole concept. But now, after 2 years, I would say there is so many variations that's like you don't see same mission. Well, you see some missions that are same, but there's a lot of the mission is same, but the environment is, for example, you can't really do the thing that you did last time. Go around the corner, hit the one guard with the stone, and then go through, because suddenly there is no corner, there is no guards there. There are some other guards, and you need to improvise. You need to basically play it again in a way that you are all like you are playing it for the first time. So that was the intention, which is also uncomfortable for a lot of players, because they just want to finish it and go on. There are so many games and movies out there that you don't want to spend time with some stupid game which like kicks you in the butt and lets you play again.
Yeah, what was that experience like when the game launched? Because by your own admission and mine as well, having played it a lot at launch, it was a game that was unfortunately very easy to discount or write off. You play it once, you see something, you play it again, you see the same thing. Then yeah, it's easy to jump to a conclusion that, this is just a quick flip, payday clone. But from your perspective, like, I have my own frustrations sometimes when I see people write off a game that has something to offer. But you worked on it, probably put in some late nights and weekends on it. What is it like from your perspective, kind of seeing that reception?
What happened on our side was that obviously we were trying to finish it. We were crunching the last few months, and in the last month, which was dedicated to like some latest inputs and polishes and some, a lot of team members were supposed to play the game just to test it, and normally in basically all the projects I've been working on, this is where no one is really interested to play it, because you've worked on it several years, you don't want to do it again. Like, you play it maybe once, but not that you would spend several weeks on it. But here what happened is that at the end, all the pieces of the puzzle, which was kind of not working at all during the whole development, suddenly started working together. And people were playing it, and they were intrigued. And because they had to play it, because they were kind of part of the team, and because they were waiting for some bugs to appear or whatever, they were just, they just spent time playing it, and they were excited. Like, I've not seen anything like this. For example, there were like designers playing the game, and two guys came. Hey guy, let's go for lunch. Oh, let me finish. I'm just in the middle of something. I need to finish this thing. And it was amazing. I have not seen anything like this. So we were thinking that there is something in the game which is like worth the effort, worth the hard work we put into it. We're obviously quite unhappy with the reception, and we kind of had to admit that the people were right with a lot of the complaints, but we knew that there is something inside, so it was worth making it better and improving it. And I think now we have community which is like very happy with the game. When there was a video released 2 years ago, you just see only hate underneath in the comments. Now, when we release the video, there's only positive stuff, which is nice. So, I'm happy that we had the time and possibility to finish it.
Yeah, that's rare. Converting sentiment like that.
So I'm grateful for that.
Did you think there would be a day where that would happen? Ideally, shipping a game is a moment for relaxation and celebration. You take some time off, you kind of enjoy the ideally positive reception, but surely things were probably not looking up for a bit there. But can you reflect on that, and do you feel proud of where you've gotten to?
Yes. Well, we were proud also 2 years ago when we released it, because, to be honest, the production mess we were in, like, you may also say it would be never finished. So the fact that we released something was kind of miracle, and the fact that it's enjoyable and playable, it's very, very, it feels good. Yeah, I'm happy. And I think the team is quite proud as well. We are doing some survey in the team, like once per few months, and a year ago, I think not a lot of people were happy about the game, and they didn't understand what we want to do with it. But I think we did something recently, and there were the amount of people who are kind of happy with what we have significantly improved. significantly bigger amount of people were happy that and proud that they worked on a game.
What's next for the studio? Not necessarily in terms of. I guess my question is: would you willingly recreate the production environment of Crime Boss? I guess COVID ideally won't happen again, something like that. But the more improvisational nature of maybe grabbing that ambition, sending production elements out to different studios, and then just trying to work with whatever you get back. Is that something you try to recreate, or would for the next project, would you be much more kind of regimented and prescripted about it?
So I think what happened will never happen again. Simply because it just costs too much money.
Okay.
The whole crazy experiment with what we did, the game industry is not in a position where you would be allowed to do something like this. Now all the budgets are much more restricted, and you need to know what you are doing, basically. So.
That's a shame because I some of what you talk about, and this is a bit of an aside, but more that I listen to, say, directors' commentaries on film. Some of the best films, the directors are very honest in saying, I only did part of this. This was everybody coming together, and like everybody artistically was moving in the same direction for this magic window, and we made this magic thing because everybody's jazz was in the same key. So it's interesting to hear not only the creative aspect of it, but the business aspect of it has apparently moved on. So Crime Boss was kind of it was the 2020 swell in game investment that had the budgets all kind of converge on this project?
Yeah, I would say there was quite a lot of ambition and quite a lot of hope in the business success of this game. Let's say the people responsible for this game were very good in persuading, the money people in the way how great it will be. And it probably would be great if we managed to finish it 2 years sooner. But 2023 was already the year where things were getting a little bit complicated. And at the end of 2023, I think that was quite harsh in the industry. So I think the years and eras, they are like repeating. So sometimes there are a lot of money in the industry, and then there are some few years where there is not so much money. We've seen it already in 2008 was not very great, and then there was more money, and so there are some cycles. I think we are in a cycle which kind of gets better, I hope.
The retraction has hopefully retracted, and now we can grow again.
And we will see how it goes. Like our next game will be definitely, I would say, much more organized in terms of how we approach it. I think everyone is doing its thing, or their thing. It's something that I think we will keep doing. So we don't have really like one guy has a vision and everyone else is just doing what they're told. We are a company where we are trying to get everyone's opinions and input onto the table, and we have a lot of great guys in the team, so it's a pleasure to work with them. Also, a lot of these guys, they joined the development really late. So, like, for example, the art director for Crime Boss, he joined in beginning of 2022, where we are supposed to be already finished. So I kind of hired him for the next project, and he ended up, spending another year with us fixing Crime Boss. And he did a wonderful job, but his hands were tied because everything was already produced, kind of, and you cannot do much. So, and this was case for many other great guys that I have in the team. So, hopefully, this time we will unleash their creativity and power from the beginning, and it will be good. We'll see.
I just have a few questions to wrap things up here. First is there anything that you would like people to know about your experience making this game or your team's experience? Anything about the game in general that just isn't common knowledge?
Well, what is maybe not common knowledge is that it was really difficult to make it. And we made it difficult for ourselves. Obviously, it was our fault to what we did. And people are saying how bad the game is, but we were happy that we managed to pull it off. That was kind of miracle on its own. And the fact that we managed to turn it around and make it, it's a great thing for us. So, but I think this is something that people can see. I don't know. Not a lot of people is like following what we are doing because we have just a small community around the game, but I think the world kind of moved on with some other games. There are plenty of games. So we hope maybe the attention of some players will kind of stop on our game at some point, and maybe they will try it, and they will be surprised that it's not the worst game of 2023, but actually a decent game that they can enjoy. And I don't know what else. I guess that's maybe the most important thing.
All right, and then final question: what's one of your favorite games that you didn't work on?
My favorite games? Well, my favorite games, they just go back in time. So my top 5, I would say, first of all, Another World. I think in US it was called Out of the World or something like that.
Out of This World, yeah.
Out of This World. So this game is this is my best game. And obviously no one can really understand it these days because it's just too difficult and just too weird. People don't have the patience for it, and I wouldn't have the patience myself. But when I was playing it, I had time. So this game is great. I keep playing it like once a year. I just play it. You can finish it in 1 hour, for example, which is great. Then I'm fan of Defender of the Crown, which I've mentioned already. It's also amazing game. You have to imagine a lot of things, but if you imagine them, you kind of really are in this era of, you know, Robin Hood and King Lionheart and Ivanhoe, and you are kind of there, and you can just play again and again, and you have this kind of pretty much the roguelite element that we replicate in the Crime Wars there. Well, it's a little bit different. It's much simpler, but if you imagine playing this game like 30 years ago, you would be amazed. So I still have this kind of feeling. And then I will just mention one more, which is Bloodborne. This is basically when I kind of lost my faith in games, you know, after all these, like when I was playing Bioshock Infinite, I was saying just like, these games are just so boring. Like, you know, you go from cutscene to cutscene and there are some arena with shoots out in between, and it's like the game is trying to tell me some nice philosophical things, but I would rather read it in a book or, you know, see it in a movie and then maybe play some multiplayer game, and I will have the same experience combined. But then this Souls-like game hits me, and I was amazed. Yeah, it was great. It just brought me back to gaming, and it was great. Yeah.
A very eclectic top 3, but I get it. I can see the influences kind of ricocheting throughout time. Yeah. Well, Jarek, thank you so much again for your time and talking through the eventful development of Crime Boss, and thank you for your efforts to you and your team making this this gem, this very unique video game. Yeah, and I echo your hopes in that people give it another shot nowadays. It's much more welcoming. But Crime Boss available now. I don't know if there's much of a shout out to be done, but it's all patched up. Check it out. And thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for asking your question, and thanks for playing the game 2 years ago. It was nice to hear your video about it. It was great to see it. We were really pleased. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it's one of the, not to make it about me, but one of the saddest things is when there is a game that does offer something new, or at least something ambitious, especially in this era when you can have all the budget in the world, but nothing really unique to show or say. So the intersection of those two is rare and probably will become increasingly rare, but I'm grateful for the folks who actually, try. So thank you.